This video is about restoring an old Bolens garden tractor and upgrading it to a diesel. The tractor is a Model 775 from '68 equipped with a hydrostat. It is a so-called Husky pup, one of the smallest in the lineup of Bolens tractors. During the disassembly, it was clear this tractor had mowed many yards. The non-original engine was in poor condition, so the plan was to replace it. Well, soon enough the tractor transformed in a pile of dirty and worn-out parts. The idea was to convert this tractor to a diesel, so in search of a small vertical shaft diesel I found this Hatz 1B30 engine, a 9-horsepower diesel which came of a shortly used generator which was electronically damaged. The engine was in a like-new condition. Being a generator engine, I had to do some work on the engine. Because the actual generator was housed in the flywheel, the engine, it had no actual external output shaft. But being an industrial Hatz, an additional output shaft was available. On the new shaft, after finding the right oil seal, I installed a new drive belt pulley with taper lock system which replaced the old broken pulley. Before completely disassembling the tractor, it was time to test fit the new engine. It would be a tight fit, but at least the base plate fitted fine on the frame. The left rear wheel was really stuck on the axle. The puller failed and even the chain hydraulic lift setup didn't work out. Then I used a large M24 bolt with a fine thread to make a puller-like device to get the wheel removed from the axle. Eventually needed also to add heat with a torch to finally get it off. With the wheel finally removed, the gearbox could be removed and the bare frame was finally there. The gearbox needed attention as well. With the wheel removal, I sadly damaged the bearing bushing, so it had to be replaced. Gladly, I could find a replacement on eBay. I used a press to install the bushing in the gear casing. The bearing of the hydrostat input shaft was also worn out, so I installed a new one. After checking the gears, bearings, and installing a new gasket, it could be assembled again. Also, a good cleanup was very well needed. After a good amount of degreaser and a pair of very dirty hands later, it looked like this. Next up was the frame. After a thorough cleaning with a pressure washer and degreaser, I discovered cracks in the frame at where the engine was mounted, so I asked a friend to weld the cracks. I mounted the engine to the clean frame so it was possible to test run the engine. The first start was an instant failure of all 6 bolts of which the flywheel was connected with to the crankshaft. Replacing them with 12.9 strength bolts and tightening them with the correct torque, the issue was solved and the engine did run fine. She seems to have quite some torque. Time to do some aesthetics. The front grille seems to be modified by the previous owner, probably for easier access to the engine. I asked my friend if he could fill the missing bars, so after sandblasting he welded them in perfectly. Now we could start making a bracket for the fuel tank. Also need to make a custom air filter cover and a new exhaust. The exhaust is made from scratch and fully made by my friend. I painted her black with a heat-resistant paint. Originally, it was an option to have working headlights on the tractor, so I decided to give her some LED headlights behind the original glass covers. Made custom foam gaskets and a laser-cut surrounding to make it possible to clamp the lamps in place. It was such a tight fit I even had to grind of a part of the aluminum casings of the lights. The fuel tank needed also some attention. Being an old, previously gasoline-powered vehicle, there was of course rust in the tank. I solved that using a rust solvent and a good cleanup. Also needed to add a fuel return connection for the diesel. Soldered a small plate on top of the fuel tank with a threaded hole to mount a tube fitting. Next up was refitting the dashboard part and fit the battery. The dashboard was repainted, but nicely enough was the dashboard sticker still there, and amazingly was the actual print visible on the back side of the sticker. So I was able to copy that in the computer for later use to make a new dash sticker. Made also a bracket to keep the battery in place. Also upgraded quite a few places the bearings of the machine because they were totally worn out. I asked my friend again to weld bearing bushings on the places where it was needed. Also upgraded the front wheels from sleeve bearings to ball bearings. Time to collect all parts and send them to be sandblasted and powder coated. After a few days, I got the parts back in their fresh coat. All frame parts in their original brown color. Also, the fuel tank is brown and went well with even the cap nicely coated. The hood, grille, dash, fender, and the oil tank for the hydro in their original white. The seat and wheels in their original red color. I edited all decals in the computer, and with another friend I recreated all decals of the tractor, including the new dash sticker. Speaking about the dash, I found an original control panel of the Hatz engine. I looked for a proper place to install it at first, but didn't like that option. So I customized the original dash to accommodate the control lights. Had to modify the control unit by extending all LEDs with their own pair of wires to the dash. Integrated all nicely in a box. Also installed the ignition switch in its original location and refurbished the throttle cable to be also installed in the spot where it originally belonged. Time to start assembling the tractor back together. Thanks to Screw Corner, I was able to find a replacement for almost every bolt which was originally used in the tractor. I was also able to find an original parts manual and user manual of the tractor, which both were useful with the assembly of the tractor. Pretty much every bearing, bolt, and pulleys have been replaced. Headlights mounted in the front part. Engine installed again. Fuel tank hooked up. Grille is mounted, with the fuel tank fitted behind it, connecting the engine wiring, ignition, and battery. She almost start to look like a tractor again. Her first time outside after a long time. Her new exhaust sounds good. Let's take her for a spin. Now that she runs and drives, time to install the hood and the fender. The seat is also fitted, but just temporary. It is not ready yet. The seat needs a cushion, of course. Thanks to another Bolens fan from Canada which I met on the Garden Tractor Forum, he was so kind to make me this very nice seat cover. Very well made with nice stitches. It really looks like from factory. We are getting there. Final chapter, the mowing deck, a 32-inch. After removing all parts from the deck, ready to let it be blasted. After that, I went again to my friend to weld the cracks and the broken wheel attachment. After that was all done, I brought it to the powder coat shop. In the meanwhile, I collected the necessary parts because, again, all bearings and pulleys needed replacing. The freshly coated deck arrived. The deck mounting and leveling system needed also some new parts that I made using a laser cutting machine. But as extra, I asked them to scoop the deck first, so it got an extra corrosion protection layer. Installed new blades which I could find in Denmark. Of course, a new drive belt, and it is ready to be installed under the tractor. The installation of the mowing deck. and a good time to check the headlights, and of course the finishing touch, the decals. One on the frame, one for the brake, one on the mower deck, and one for the PTO. And there she is, the final result, the finished tractor. But can she actually mow? Let's find out. A functioning mower tractor it is. Well, that was the restoration of a Bolens Husky. Thank you for watching.